It's a pleasure to be with you. The title of this talk is Cross-Cultural Communications, Cognition and Language. There are no disclosures for this presentation. Objectives include describe the process of developing meaning in message respondents, explain how meaning transfer relates to the communications model, recognize the importance of the 7 dimensions of cultural distance in cross-cultural communications. Describe the trisystemic model of cognition and how that model applies to public health communications. Demonstrate the importance of stories for transmitting meaning in relationship cultures. Describe the breadth of worldwide languages and dialects. Describe the role of languages. Describe 3 basic steps to overcome language barriers. Explain the importance of horizontal communicators in effective community messaging, and briefly explain the importance of the semantic differential and language impact on culture. The purpose of health communications is to effectively transfer messages that result in an appropriate meaning in the recipients of that message to ultimately change risky behaviors. Health professionals are often guilty of transferring well-selected words not necessarily meaning. Transferring words is often not enough to convince people to change high-risk behaviors. It's all about meaning. True communication is therefore not actually the transfer of just messages or words, but meaning that will positively impact the behaviors of those we're trying to reach, the respondents. The definition of meaning is the input of our senses overlaid with increasing levels of abstraction. I have a problem understanding that, so I drew a diagram that represents what I think that means. All of our experiences, resulting from a myriad of various sensory inputs, are piled somewhere in the gray matter of our brain. They aren't necessarily arranged in discrete chapters, paragraphs, or sentences, but likely linked as related bits of information. Some of that information is good and some bad. Whether good or bad, it is the pile of information we have to work with. Whenever confronted with a situation or received message that requires a meaning, we go to that massed pile of bits of information and create our personal meaning, a unique creative process for each individual, resulting in a unique meaning for each person, even when those individuals are presented with the same message or situation. The main point, the meaning that ultimately impacts the behavior of respondents or recipients of a message, occurs in the respondent or recipient, not the source of the message. Health professionals often spend significant time creating elaborate messages that accurately represent our meanings, fashioned from minds representing the health profession's culture. Yet we become frustrated when the meanings of respondents are different and result in little or no change in behaviors. The problem may not rest in the words or message transferred, but in how the respondent crafted a meaning in response to that message. How do we determine if an appropriate meaning has been crafted? Feedback is a valuable early sign, followed by the ultimate outcome, the impact on a risky behavior. This is a common communication model. As mentioned above, the main objective of communications is to transfer accurate meanings from a message source to a respondent. The source must choose an appropriate medium, for example, a public service announcement, lecture, newspaper ad, radio or television spot, billboard, social media post, etc., to deliver a message. The message is then encoded in that message medium and delivered by the source. The respondent then decodes the message and creates a unique meaning as previously described. There are 7 major dimensions that define cultural distance. The distance between source and respondent or receiver of a message, including worldview, ways of believing or deep beliefs, cognition, ways of thinking, linguistic forms, the ways of expressing ideas, behavioral patterns, ways of acting, social interactions, ways of interacting, media influences, the ways of channeling messages, and motivational resources, or ways of deciding. The more one culture, the message source, differs from another culture, the respondent or receiver of a message, in these 7 dimensions, the greater the cultural distance and resultant difficulty in communicating effective messages and meaning between those cultures. Understanding these dimensions is essential for effective public health communications and also effective community engagement. In this session, we'll focus on cognitive processes and linguistic forms. Let's first consider the cognitive process. Communicators often want to immediately consider what a person thinks, bypassing the important consideration of how they think the way they do. The Greek philosopher and scientist Aristotle, who lived from 384 to 322 BCE, a student of Plato and tutor of Alexander the Great, was one of the most influential thinkers in history, and stated the importance of understanding how people think versus just what they think. If we totally focus on what a person thinks, we set the stage for judging that person. If they don't come to the same conclusion we do in thinking, the what, we assume they're wrong. We judge the outcome of their thinking against ours. Every culture, including ours, firmly believes that the way they think, believe, and feel is the way to think, believe, and feel. A major point emphasized by Aristotle is that good communicators should give more attention to how people think than just what they think. So let's spend a few minutes discussing the how of thinking. Edmund Perry and F.H. Smith described a cognitive model that may help us. It's called the trisystemic model or approach. They describe 3 basic cognitive dimensions or approaches to reality, including 1, conceptual thinkers, or those that focus on ideas and concepts emerging from measurable data. 2, relational thinkers that prioritize the importance of relationships or interpersonal interactions between humans. And 3, psychical thinkers that emphasize intuition, inner experience, the mystical, or the spiritual aspects of situations. Everyone uses all 3 of these cognitive dimensions, but in a different order or priority, and also consistent with the expectations of the various roles they play in life. Conceptual thinking fits science and logic with concepts and ideas based on measurable data as the priority. For conceptual thinkers, relationships are secondary, followed by psychical or mystical thought. Most public health colleagues agree that public health as a science fits this conceptual cognitive model. The relationship model or dimension represents many tribal and Asian cultures. Politicians often fall into this cognitive dimension priority, particularly with constituents. In these cultures, relationships are the priority, followed by concepts, then the psychical or mystical. Relationships for politicians are not the same as relationships in other relationship cultures, being more superficial, enough to get elected or cast a favorable public image, versus the deep, long-lasting relationships of tribal or Asian cultures. When people from many tribal or Asian relationship cultures meet individuals from Western cultures, their main and first priority is to develop a relationship. Discussion of concepts and ideas can wait until those initial relationships are developed. Individuals of relationship cultures may often present an agreeable posture to ideas or concepts proposed by a Westerner, though in reality opposed to those concepts or ideas. Difficult discussions and decisions around those concepts and ideas are deferred to foster a relationship. Westerners often mistake this relationship approach as being deceptive or insincere versus just utilizing a different cognitive priority. In many faith-based groups worldwide, the psychical, inner experience, or mystical approach is the central priority, followed by relationships with concepts marginalized. Many cultures on the India subcontinent particularly fit this cognitive priority. I trust you can see the potential for frustration, misinterpretation, and even conflict when cultures with differing cognitive dimensions or priorities interact. Messaging from a communication source may be more effective if focused on the central cognitive priority of a target culture, conceptual for scientists and Western cultures, relationships for many tribal, Asian, or politician cultures, and the psychical, inner experience, spiritual, etc., for strong faith-based cultures. Understanding the cognitive priority of a target culture is critical for an effective community engagement facilitator and communicator. Some cultural communications specialists would suggest that public health scientists need to be shocked out of their unexamined reverence for logical concepts. There are other ways of thinking, other cultural cognitive priorities that represent a large segment of the world's population. Public health needs to seriously consider and study how cultures think and message in the cognitive priority of the target culture. This is not easy for a scientist. A Buddhist statement summarizes a basic challenge for scientific health messaging in cyclical cultures. The intellect is admittedly the instrument of proof, but in my experience, nothing worth proving can be proved, and the intuition needs no proof by intellect. It knows. From this cyclical cognitive priority, scientific data and measures have little relevance. Reality comes from inner experience, intuition, not through intellectual pursuits. Understanding this cognitive priority should help communicators craft more effective messages that transfer meanings. For example, relating health messages to cyclical considerations. This communications strategy would likely require engaging individuals from that cyclical culture. We will briefly look at some key attributes of relational cognitive cultures. Active emotional relationships are central for this cognitive priority. The initial focus is all about developing relationships. Stories, myths, and fables are commonly used to verbally communicate ideas in relationship cultures. Relational cultures also rely heavily on nonverbal communications like gestures and music, etc., much more so than conceptual cultures. To illustrate the importance of stories in relationship cultures, let's listen to the story of Brings the Deer from the Lakota Way by Joseph Marshall III. All cultures use stories, but they are generally much more important in relationship cultures. Listen for the cultural content contained in this story.
This is a story about generosity, the story of Brings the Deer. Long, long ago, it is said, there was a very hard winter when the people lived in the North Country. Many people died because there was no food, so the Council of Old Men decided to send 2 of their best young hunters into the forest to the south. One cold dawn, the 2 hunters headed into the forest. It was thick and dark. They knew that the hopes of their people walked with them, so they prayed for courage and strength and skill. Each day they faced the cold and moved deeper and deeper into the great forest. After many days they saw the tracks of deer, but they had very little food and they were weak and exhausted. That night, as they rested and warmed themselves by their fire, the hunters spoke of what to do. "Our relatives are hungry," said Seize the Bear. "We must go on." Left Hand agreed. "We must hunt until we find something, or until we no longer have the strength to walk." The next day they ate the last of their food. They could feel their strength leaving them a little at a time. They began to stumble, and Left Hand fell into a snow-filled gully. It took all of Seize the Bear's strength to pull them out. Suddenly there was a great crashing, and a large deer with great forked antlers fell into the same gully onto its back. It struggled and struggled to turn over. The hunters moved as swiftly as they could, but the cold had numbed their fingers and they had difficulty placing their arrows on the bowstrings. Just as the great deer was nearly out of the gully, 2 arrows flew straight, and the deer fell, mortally wounded. That night the hunters feasted on the deer's heart, and their strength began to return. The next day they made drag poles to pull the carcass home to feed their hungry relatives. On the first night toward home, Seize the Bear sat on guard by the fire. The skinny coyote appeared in the firelight and spoke. "It has been a hard winter," Coyote said. "My family is hungry. If you are kind, you would give us some of your meat." Seize the Bear woke Left Hand, who also saw the coyote. "You are great hunters," the coyote said. "I beg for your kindness." "We cannot help her," sniffed Left Hand. "We must take this meat home to our relatives." "We can share a little of it," said Seize the Bear. He sliced off a strip of meat and tossed it to the coyote. "Listen at night," she said. "My family will sing of our gratefulness." "That was a foolish thing to do," said Left Hand. 2 days later, as they rested, a flock of magpies came to them. "We are hungry," said the head magpie. "It is winter," Left Hand growled. "It is a time of hunger." "We are hungry," said the magpie. Seize the Bear cut strips from the meat and tossed them to the magpies. "You are kind," said the magpie. "Hereafter, if you do not see us or hear us, it will be a sign of hard times. If there is to be plenty, we will tell you." "That was a foolish thing to do," said Left Hand. They traveled as far as they could each day. Dragging the loaded poles across snow was not easy. One afternoon, a gray form came to the trees. It was a large wolf with a badly injured foot. "If you are here to ask for meat, we cannot give you any," shouted Left Hand. "I have hurt my foot," said Wolf. "I can find the deer, but I cannot chase them. My family is hungry." "Our story is sad as well," said Left Hand. "Our people have not eaten for many, many days." "We have just enough to share," said Seize the Bear. He sliced off a chunk of meat and tossed it to the wolf. "I am grateful," said Wolf. "You shall have my skill as a hunter." Left Hand was angry. You have given away most of our meat. What will we tell our people? I will tell them the truth, replied Seize the Bear. The old ones taught us it is good to share. It was a fox who came the next night while Left Hand was asleep. I have never seen such a hard winter, said Fox. The snow is so deep, the rabbits run on top. I sink in. Seize the Bear sliced off some succulent meat and tossed it to the fox. I think there is enough to share, he whispered. I am grateful, said Fox. My people are skilled at hiding, and so shall you be. In the morning, Left Hand could see that more of the meat was gone. I cannot travel with you any longer, he said. You have given away most of our meat. There is enough, insisted Seize the Bear. I am returning to our lodges alone, shouted Left Hand. I must tell the old men what you have done. Left Hand departed angrily, and Seize the Bear was left to struggle with the deer meat. The next morning he came across a hawk with an injured wing. I fought with the short-tailed cat, he said. Now I cannot fly until my wing is strong again. I have not eaten in many days. Seize the Bear gave the hawk a chunk of deer meat. I am grateful, said Hawk. Follow this forest south until you come to the lake country. The hunting there is very good. The forests are filled with deer, and you can catch fish in the lakes. Seize the Bear finally reached his people's lodges. He hid what was left of the deer in a hollow tree. The old men leaders were waiting for him. Now it is time for you to speak your story, they said. Seize the Bear did not hold back the truth. He told everything as it had happened. We have brought back meat. It will make us strong enough to travel south. The hawk told me that the hunting in the lake country is very good. With his head hanging, Seize the Bear led the old man to where the meat was hidden. Left Hand grabbed the deer's leg and pulled. It was very heavy, so he asked for help. 4 young men pulled the deer from the tree, and to everyone's surprise, it was whole. As the men stood around the carcass, a ghostly white deer appeared with large forked antlers. I am the deer who live in the forest, it said. Our flesh will give you strength. We ask in return that you show your gratefulness for the gift of our life. Then the great white deer disappeared. That night there was a great feast, with more than enough meat for everyone, and some to save as well. Seize the Bear was honored and given the new name of Brings the Deer. He hunted again and returned with another deer, and as the great white deer had asked, he spoke a word of thanksgiving. The people traveled south, and there they found a land of plenty, as the hawk had said. Brings the Deer became the most skillful hunter the people had ever seen. It seemed as though he had powers and abilities that no other man had. Left Hand had a difficult life. He was nearly killed by a bear, and strange things seemed to happen to him more than anyone. His bow seemed to break quite often during a hunt. It was said of Left Hand that he did not smile often. Many men hunted with Brings the Deer and brought their sons to learn his skills. There was one small ritual he taught everyone. Each time a deer was killed in a hunt, he paused to lay down a bundle of sage as an offering. To this day, Lakota hunters pause to speak a word of thanksgiving for the generosity of the deer.
Health messages may be better presented via stories in many relationship cultures. Now we'll consider linguistic forms or ways of expressing ideas. This generally relates to the use of language. There are many languages and dialects in the world, as illustrated by the translation of the English word hello on this slide, though this is far from comprehensive. A recent estimate of languages is from a study reported by the Linguistic Society of America in 2009. 6,909 distinct languages worldwide. Mandarin is the most commonly spoken language, covering 14.1% of the world's population, followed by Spanish at 5.85%, English at 5.52%, Hindi at 4.46%, and Arabic at 4.23%. Language is obviously a communication tool for conveying information, yet it plays a much greater role than that. Language establishes relations in daily life. Language has an artistic purpose, since humans use language aesthetically to express anger, love, beauty, hatred, compassion, etc. Language also functions as a tool of learning, gathering, or expressing knowledge, including culture and customs. Language is not a perfect communications channel and is augmented by other forms of communication, including nonverbal communications, to enhance appropriate meaning transfer. So true fluency in the primary language of another group is more than just the ability to say and understand words. It's also the ability to understand the cultural meaning behind the words and other nonverbal expressions of the group. The next two slides list 3 practical ways to deal with language barriers internally and externally for an organization. 1. Use an appropriate interpreter. Interpreters are extremely important to translate all relevant documents into the primary language of a target group, and also properly translate linguistically and culturally direct communications with people of the target culture. There are several free websites that translate text from one language to another. There are also computerized programs that translate verbal communications between a variety of languages real-time. These are great resources, but be careful. Those translation services may translate words, but not necessarily appropriate cultural meaning and context, as previously mentioned, and can result in the transfer of unintended or confusing meanings. 2. Provide language and cross-cultural communications classes within your organization. The most important training is in cross-cultural competencies and skills versus just language. Yet having said that, basic language training is helpful for anyone working with another culture. Seriously attempting to use another culture's language sends a strong message of your serious interest in that culture and its members. It helps build rapport, relationships, and trust with the other culture. Many individuals immigrating to the United States are attempting to learn and communicate in English. Communicating cross-culturally is a challenge for anyone. The following suggestions are helpful in communicating with individuals trying to learn English. A. Simplify the communication as much as possible. Make the message as simple and brief as possible. B. Don't talk down to individuals, but use less complex words with fewer syllables. C. Use visual aids to augment verbal communications. A picture, illustration, or demonstration is often more effective than 1,000 words when dealing with language and cultural barriers, even when using an interpreter. It is amazing how much information and meaning can be transferred by a good picture, illustration, or demonstration. D. Use repetition. It's often wise to repeat verbal communications and re-demonstrate visual aids to reinforce intended meaning. This is important even when communicating within the same culture and language. Repetition strongly says what is being communicated is important. Remember, the target culture may be struggling to understand your meaning as much as you're trying to make your meaning clear to them. Repetition is always helpful. E. Talk slower, not louder. Speak clearly, not forcefully. People of a different language and culture can hear fine. They will try to grasp what is being said. If using English, speak it in the correct way, just more clearly. People can't appropriately learn English if you don't speak it correctly. The converse is also true. You can't learn to speak another language correctly if native speakers will not speak to you in the appropriate cadence, grammar, and accent. F. Ask individuals to repeat what they think you meant, whether you are communicating in their language or yours. Don't assume a person of another culture understood you, even if they shake their head affirmatively. Let's cover 3 other topics briefly regarding linguistics: community message source, semantic differential, and the influence of language on culture. Let's now discuss the importance of a community message source. History sometimes hinges on a single word or its meaning. The Japanese word mokusatsu has 2 meanings: to ignore and to refrain from comment. In July 1945, a significant number of Japanese leaders, including the Emperor Hirohito, were prepared to consider terms for ending the war. The Potsdam Ultimatum called for an immediate response from the Japanese. The Japanese reportedly wanted more time to consider the terms. A Japanese press release used the term mokusatsu, which was meant to convey refrain from comment, desiring a bit more time to consider. The Western press translated the term to ignore, which cast a whole different meaning on the response. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were the result of the translation of that one word. Russian intervention in Siberia and the division of Korea could likely have been avoided. Thousands of lives could have been potentially saved. All of this due to the probable misinterpretation of one little word. Both linguistic competency and its linkage to culture are extremely important in the accurate messaging of meaning. So how can misinterpretation be avoided when working with a community or culture that uses a different language or even uses the same language differently within a different cultural context? One practical approach is to use native community members who live in the community and culture. Use the same language in the same way as the target community. They are in a much better position to craft effective messages that transfer accurate meanings than those from outside the culture. The closer the message source is to the respondent or receiver of the message in all 7 cultural distance dimensions, including linguistic forms, the better. As diagrammed, it's highly desirable to have the message source and respondent circles overlap as much as possible. This obviously occurs when the messenger is actually part of the target community or culture. This is a main concept in community engagement. Engage community members, formal and informal leaders. Formal leaders provide the authorization needed to engage their community. Informal leaders provide the communications channels and appropriate contextualization of messages to influence the beliefs, values, institutions, and ultimately the behaviors of community members. Let's now briefly consider the concept of semantic differential. These next few slides demonstrate a semantic differential tool described by David Berlow. Tools like this are used by cultural communications experts to determine the meaning of words in a target community or culture and can provide valuable insights into the usefulness of certain words or phrases in those cultures or subcultures, like youth, the elderly, minority groups, etc. This information can significantly inform the crafting of effective messages. The scale is based on 4 paired continuums: good, bad, valuable, worthless, active, passive. Active here means that the word positively encourages action and movement within community or cultural members. Strong, weak. Strong or weak refers to the respect a word possesses in that community or culture. For example, let's consider the word prevention to illustrate the importance of the concept of semantic differential. This slide shows the response of 2 randomly selected individuals working in the North Dakota State Health Department to the word prevention. They both were approximately 50 years old, Caucasian, and born and raised in North Dakota. Obviously, these 2 individuals representing the public health subculture demonstrated strong concurrence in their perception of the word prevention, a good word, extremely valuable, active, and of moderate strength. This slide shows the response from 2 other randomly selected individuals outside the Department of Health. They were also from Bismarck, Caucasian, approximately 50 years old, and also born and raised in North Dakota. To them, prevention is neutral on the good-bad scale, not very valuable, and passive and weak. The individuals were not impressed by the word prevention versus the 2 public health workers who perceived it as a valuable positive word. This obviously was not a robust study, but emphasizes the importance of not only words, but also their perceived meaning and value. Tools like this can be helpful in determining the usefulness of words in crafting messages, not only between different cultures, but also between subcultures of the same culture. The main point: don't rely on your own perception of a word, since you might be biased due to your subcultural orientation and training. During our time in East Africa, I had an interesting discussion that somewhat relates to semantic differential with Alice Musumba, the Kenyan lady pictured here. Alice was the co-director of our East African Community Engagement Program. One day, I was trying to describe a Caucasian lady to Alice. This lady had previously been in a group meeting with both of us. I mentioned that she had red hair and blue eyes, semantically key distinguishing features to me. Alice then asked if she was short or tall, the tint of her skin, and if she had a prominent forehead or high cheekbones. I thought that was somewhat unusual and asked her why those features were important to her. She said, "Well, all of you white people look alike to us Africans, and therefore I need some distinguishing features to help me identify this woman." That led to an interesting discussion of cultural influence on the use of language, semantic differential, or the cultural importance attributed to certain words associated with distinguishing features. Alice explained that almost all Africans have dark hair and brown eyes. Therefore, they don't recognize or commonly consider those features to distinguish people, and instead rely on other features like facial shape, height, tint of the skin, etc. To Caucasians, the color of the hair and eyes are common distinguishing features that our culture has taught us to use to identify individuals. It was also interesting that to Alice, the term browner, in reference to skin tint, meant lighter in color versus the opposite to me, where browner meant darker. This makes sense when considering the cultural starting point or base from which we draw comparisons. The main point is that language and its meanings are heavily related to cultural context. just knowing how to speak words and phrases doesn't mean an individual is fluent in the cultural context of the language used by a community or culture. A communicator from that community or culture would not experience that contextual barrier, therefore, once again, underlining the importance of engaging community informal leaders or horizontal communicators in the community engagement process. We know that language is an expression or mirror of culture. We can observe the way people use words and their meanings, as previously mentioned, to help us understand culture. Benjamin Whorf and Edward Sapir, in some traditional cultural and linguistic work from the last century, proposed that language is a major means by which we acquire our worldview and logic. It shapes our ideas rather than merely expressing them. For example, language may impact our cultural color reality. This slide shows 7 cardinal colors defined in English, including violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. English speakers grow up learning and using the words associated with myriad colors, including these 7 that generally cover the color spectrum. Cultural and linguistic experts feel that the words we grow up using to describe colors may significantly shape our color reality. Other cultures have a different color reality. For example, the traditional Shona culture in Zimbabwe identifies 4 cardinal colors. In the traditional Bassa culture of Cameroon, there are only 2 cardinal colors in their color reality. It's not that the Shona or Bassa cannot distinguish the 7 cardinal colors of English shown, but apparently elect not to do so for cultural reasons. They apparently view the distinction as being unimportant or irrelevant to their lifestyles. This codified color language in each culture seems to reinforce and influence the cultural color reality of children. It's likely that the influence is bidirectional. Lifestyle relevance influences words like those of color, and vice versa. Word usage likely influences how cultures actually perceive the world. The main point is that language may not only be an expression of culture, but also have a powerful influence on shaping a culture. The potential influence of linguistics on cultural perceptions may be a fertile field for future research in public health. In summary, transfer of meaning is the goal of effective messaging. The respondent ultimately creates message meaning. Understanding all the parts of the communications model is important for effective messaging. Communicating in the cognitive priority of a target culture is essential. Utilizing the 3 steps to overcoming language barriers will improve cross-cultural communications. Engaging community message sources greatly reduces contextual communications barriers.